Hello, everybody. It's Zane with Sailing Views. I've got Victor Felice here. Victor is from Arizona, and he is doing some amazing things with boats and a sailing program out of there. So here he is. Here's Victor. How you doing, Victor?
Hi, Zane. Very well, thank you.
All right. Well, great. So I know you've got this Tiller and Kites program you're doing. All the boats are pink. You're amassing, I don't know how many boats you have, but you've surpassed me in boat collection. So
Yes.
uh, tell us a little bit about it.
I think Tiller and Kite started about 3 years ago, where I think, like probably many other people, you get to a point in your sailing where it's just not working. You're not enjoying it, you're not having fun, you're getting skipper burnout, you're getting crew burnout, and you have a choice. Sell everything and, I don't know, buy a helicopter or something, or do things differently.
Yeah.
Do your own thing. Take the challenge, try it. So I like helicopters, but I went with Plan B. And I said, okay, let's exclude all that. I'm not going to knock anyone. They've been doing it forever. It is what it is. I just don't like it. Is there something better? Can I do something different? And that's where it started. So obviously the basis or the Halo project is the sailing school, because I think that's one of the ways you bring people into the sport is you have to teach them how to sail. But then you have to make it accessible. So I don't know how many people I've seen get a sailing certificate from whatever association, and then they have no access to boats, no access to sailing, or they end up saying, well, I have this and this, I can crew on your boat. I'm like, well, why do I need you? Well, you need a crew. No, I don't. Well, you can't sail that boat by yourself. Yes, I can. So what are you bringing to the table, right? So how do you bring people up through the sport, not just basically, getting a free ride, but actually being invested in the sport? You have to make it accessible.
Yeah.
You have to give them the tools that they need, which is primarily boats, which is why we ended up with so many boats, like
Yeah.
50 something,
How many?
50 something, I think.
50 something? Oh,
Yeah,
Lord. Yeah, you have definitely blown it out of the water then.
it's a few.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how did you get, like I say, you just gave us a rundown on how you got started on that, but how did you get started into sailing? How did that, come to be?
Oh, that started, I mean, a long time ago as a kid, obviously sailing dinghies. I was sailing a mirror dinghy, which is an English boat. This is in Malta, where I'm from. And, we had a full season. So we had spring, summer, fall, winter. And all we did was sail and sail and sail. And, in summer, the racing was lighter. So we'd just keep sailing and sailing and doing all sorts of crazy things on our dinghies. Crewing for, the adults. So I remember as a kid, crewing on a swan. That was pretty fabulous. And then you grow up and you go to college and, life gets in the way just like everybody else. And one day you wake up and you say, I want to go sailing. And you just literally pick up where you left off.
There you
But in
go.
my case, like many people, there is a break where you just didn't. You just
Yeah.
making a living, raising kids, the usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you consider yourself good, or at what point did you consider yourself good and think you had a natural, a talent for it, or?
I think actually I'm really good, but I always meet somebody who's better.
Yeah, that's true with all of us, I think.
So, rather than pretend, oh, look at me. No, no, no. I just sit quietly and learn.
Yeah.
I mean, there are obviously some people know they could learn a thing or two from me, but in the majority, I like meeting and hanging out with people where I know they know more than me. I know they have more experience than me, and the types of people who actually will share that with you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drop a name. For example, a perfect example would be Andrew Kerr.
Yeah.
Been extraordinarily gracious to me. I mean, when my racing campaign here locally was falling apart, spent 2 days with him, and we just won every race there was because he put us back on focus and everything. So, you learn a lot from those people.
Yeah.
And I like being around them. And granted, being in the desert, the access is somewhat limited, but every chance I can, I go for it.
I gotcha. All right. So what do you do for a living? How does all this come to, how are you able to pull off all of this?
Oh no! I mean, my background was in business management and business systems and so forth. All my clients are overseas, so it gives me a lot of free time just because of the time difference. So my day generally starts at about 5 in the morning, give or take,
Hmm.
but I could be done by 10 a.m.
Okay.
So because of the time difference. So then what am I going to do for the rest of the day? You'd go sailing and sailing and sailing. So then one thing led to the other. And in fact, I mean, up until the COVID, I was just very busy. I was doing very, very well to the point of, okay, do I want to do less of what paid for it to get here and do more of this? We're kind of 50-50 right now.
Gotcha.
So yeah, this still is a sort of a day job.
Yeah. Okay, so with all these boats you've had, and I'm sure you've sailed a ton of them over your life, what's your favorite boat and why?
Other than the ones I cannot afford, so I'm going to leave those out of my long list of favorites, which I will probably never own. I'm still partial to the J24.
Really?
Not necessarily as the best or the finest or this or that, but it's just such a perfect all-around boat. Because I can solo sail it all day long. You can sail it with 2, with 3, with 4, with 5 people. They're tough. You'll always find another J24 or a J24 owner to either go one-on-one with, or to just change stories and information. So that's how we ended up with about 12 or 13 of them, because I really do like them. But I think it's just a great all-around boat. Is it the fastest? No. Is it the most sophisticated? No. But it does meet, I think, all the requirements of having a good sailboat that you can just enjoy and also race competitively.
I gotcha. Okay, well, you say you're from Malta and you live in Arizona, and I know you've been to California, you've done Hawaii. I know you've done a lot of things. What's your favorite place to sail?
Probably would still be the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Other than docking.
Yeah.
But other than docking, the Mediterranean is still really, really nice, and the Caribbean.
Yeah.
But again, it's a really hard choice to decide.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't quite understand the whole, you have to go stern to dock it over there, but, that's the way it is.
It's like build marinas, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just the bigger the boat, the nastier it gets. So.
Yep. Okay, well, where do you see the future of sailing going? Now that I know you've got a lot of good things happening out there, but what about the rest of the world? Where do you see it going?
Well, I think there will be some form of changes coming, and I think I'm not unique in my wanting to do something different. I was just involved, in fact, with the U.S. sailing program on one design, trying to put together program ideas. So I was on a small committee, and it was really interesting. But one thing I did notice was there still is the camp that will say, "Oh, we've been doing that." We've been doing it this way forever, and it's great. And why do you want to change anything? And then in the same breath, well, the sport is dying, and we need to bring more people in. Then why are you doing the same thing, right? Why wouldn't you try something different? And I think most importantly is don't be afraid to fail. I mean, if you tried something and it blows up in your face, fine. Have a good laugh, lick your wounds, and promise never to do it again. But by not trying something. And it's not just a one-off, madcap idea. Talk to people, listen to people. I mean, really listen to what they're saying. Don't listen to what you want them to be telling you to confirm your own, biases or ideas. But what do people want? What do boat owners, and also then non-boat owners but avid sailors, and how do you tie the two together? Like I mentioned before, skipper burnout. That's not uncommon. The one guy who owns the boat, pays the slip, pays the sails, pays the marina, pays the food, pays everything, keeps going on and on and on. And then your brand new $150 winch handle gets tossed overboard. And like, oops, sorry, dude. No, don't sorry, dude me. That was a really expensive winch handle that gets tossed overboard. Now I have to go and replace it So, how do you fix those issues? How do you sort those things out? How are you really clear with people? And you don't want to be stuffy about it, but even with crew or new people, don't be draconian, but be clear. This is what it takes. And one day you might be a boat owner, so I'm actually helping you to be a boat owner by not doing, boneheaded things and then walking away from them. So that's something I've heard a lot from a lot of people. You try and devise ways and systems, right, that people can, and I don't mean when I say take ownership, it doesn't mean monetarily, but really be involved in what they're doing. And if you're going to commit to a boat and somebody's going to make that available to you, commit.
Yeah.
Spend the time. Do the hard work too.
Yep.
Which is very rewarding.
Yeah. I know. I always try to get whenever I get a team, I try to have them involved and help me do boat work and things like that. That way they're, committed to the cause, so they understand the problems and what might come up. That way they're all in. I just, it's better to me than just having someone show up, step on the boat, go, and then bail as soon as we hit the dock. So
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a big believer in you always need somebody to blame.
Yeah.
You're the skipper. So in this case, if you rigged the Vang and the Vang falls apart, then I'm not blaming you or putting it on you. No, you did it.
Yeah.
But if you didn't do it, then what happens when the Vang blows apart and you're the mast guy or whatever, then, I was saying, what happened to the Vang? Like, I don't know, I didn't set it up.
Yeah.
So I like people actually hands-on the boat, tune the mast, tune the rigging, really take a good piece of what's going to happen. And when it blows up, it's your fault.
Yeah.
it's quite.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to what's your best regatta or your best sailing trip? What's a great memory that you've had?
Goodness, I still think one of the best ones was the National Regatta in Malta in 1975. And it was with a friend of mine. I think we used my hull and his sails. And again, a little mirror 10, and we go out there and we're completely outclassed with bigger boats, faster dinghies, and just beat everybody. Just absolutely beat everybody on this little 10-foot boat. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So it was the only national regatta I ever won.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a fun memory.
So what about your worst regatta? I know you had a rough one a couple of years ago or last year, but what was your worst regatta you've had?
I think there's been a few, and in hindsight, right, it's not all the tactical errors you made, because you did. Should have jibed, didn't. Should have tacked, didn't. Should have. That's all stuff. I think all of them were failure to properly prepare, right? And it starts grinding at you. You knew you should have done this, you knew you should have done that, changed this how, done this, and then little things start falling apart. And I think it starts cascading.
Yeah.
And you get to a point, you're halfway through a regatta, like, oh my God, is anything else going to go wrong? When in fact, had you spent a day on the boat earlier, maybe with your crew and sorted everything out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think all the bad ones are just failure to prepare properly.
Yeah.
Just jump on the boat and go, and
I've been involved in those, and a lot of those are, a number of years ago when I was a boat captain and running a program. I'd go down 2 weeks early, but there's so much work to do. I just couldn't keep up, and everybody jumps on the boats like, all right, let's go. Hey, this isn't working. That's not done. I'm like, I don't have enough time to do it all by myself, and I think that definitely leads into future problems.
So much distraction too, right? Even though you're not going to use your engine or your outboard, but the oil hasn't been changed in 9 months.
Yeah.
You just buy it.
You have oil in an outboard? Wait a minute. I have issues then.
Well, on some boats, they still have outboards.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. All right, so what is the most interesting or the wildest thing you've seen floating by you?
Mighty Merlot on Newport to Ensenada.
Okay.
It was, damn, that's fast. One moment's there. In fact, it was so fast that I think so they probably started probably like an hour and change behind us. When we crossed the border into Mexico, they had already finished and we're back in San Diego.
Wow. Yeah. That's quick.
You're watching them on Yellow Brig, like, how on earth did they? Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
They're there, they partied, they're back home, they're done.
Still slugging away down to Ensenada. Yep.
Nice. All right, so what's your best job on the boat? What's your favorite role or your best role? What do you do best?
I like driving. And generally what we do, in fact, we were just sailing a Flying Tiger not too long ago, the Flying Tiger 10, is right before we get go. So look, okay, forget all this, wonderful titles and everything. And I know people don't use the word driver. I do. I'm on the tiller, so I'm the helmsman, the driver. Right? I'm not going to be calling tactics. I'm not going to be doing this. I am just literally going to talk to the guy in front of me, doing the trimmer, who in turn is going to talk to the guy in front of him and so forth. So then all I have to do is that, and just try and drive really well.
Yeah.
work with the trimmer, who in turn will talk to the kite guy, who in turn will talk to the master guy, you know. So, and I find that really works well because just because you may be the boat owner or the skipper for the day, it doesn't make you the boss of everything. So, you know, you try and get your people to do really, really well at what they're doing and not trying to shout down to the bowman and back. No, the bowman just talks to the mast guy or maybe
Yeah.
the trimmer, and that's it.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you just do what you're doing. And I like that. I like that way. I can just do a little bit, but try and do it really well.
Yeah. I think people knowing their roles on a boat, you have a defined job. That's your job. Don't get your head outside of that, because I know I say with people, and you have a bowman that wants to be the tactician, and the trimmer wants to be the bowman, and it's like, okay, everybody focus, do your role. So
Exactly. And I think it works really well when you do that.
yeah,
You know, you can take breaks and have a good laugh and joke about a few things, but when you're, to windward or whatever you're doing, just do that and just do it well.
yeah,
And the next guy does it well, and you all work sort of together. And hopefully,
yeah,
the results will show.
yeah. Okay, so here's one. Are you aggressive or conservative when you're on the water?
Interesting. I think I'd say conservatively aggressive. In other words, aggressive, but guess who's paying for the boat when you wreck it? So I'm just like, yeah, just
Okay.
really
Yeah.
careful at that last bit. I might just, no, I don't want to spend the rest of the summer, bondoing and glassing and polishing. So
Yeah.
I know. I think I've gotten to the point where I know when, sometimes just back off. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you're in the right, yes, I get it, rule 2 and all that jazz, but there are some times where you just save the boat, save everything. It'll be another day. And none of the stuff we do is so big,
Yeah.
or so important. I mean, it's not the Olympics, it's not the VORs, it's not a world championship. It's a bunch of guys on a lake, so
Yeah.
you
Gotcha.
don't need to be stupid. No.
All right. So yeah. All right. So what's one of your greatest maneuvers or the biggest trick you've pulled off? Be it port tack or jamming a mark rounding or something just amazing. You turned around and went, "How did I do that?" Have you had one of those moments?
One I did, yes, was don't ask me how we started 10 minutes late. I mean, I was sure we started 9:30. Guess what? We started at 9, and we're making our way up to the starting line. The fleet's gone. It was probably blowing 25 or 30 that day in the desert. And we just made it over the start line with about maybe a minute to spare before being disqualified. And we just pound and pound and pound and pound. I go all the way north, turn around, come around the islands, and now it's probably blowing 30, gusting 35. And there's only about 5 boats in the fleet. Everybody had scattered for the day. And we're probably in third. So we come around and we're like, well, there's only one thing we can do. And everybody starts laughing. That, really, you're going to fly the kite? Yep, we're going to fly the kite. So we hit, according to my Velocitech, assuming it's accurate, which I think it is, we hit 17.9 knots on a J24.
Woo. Yeah, that's cooking.
Oh yeah, I was cooking.
I mean, on J24, everything's vibrating to death at that point, I'm sure.
God. You're already doing mental calculations. How much does a mast cost? How much does this cost? What am I going to break? But it was funny. Once we hit 14, it was like, oh, this is going to hurt. Then you hit 15, and then 16, and now we're rooting to try and go for 18, but we didn't. We hit 17.9.
Yeah.
So we ended up winning that race, but it was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
A ton of fun doing that, because all of us were pushed way beyond, I think, our skills, and but it worked. So yeah, I'd do that again.
All right, that's great. All right, your favorite program? I know you've been involved in a lot of big boat programs and different things. I mean, is this Tiller and Kites thing the best thing you've been involved in, or have you been involved with other issues, other programs, or?
I mean, I've done some stuff through US Sailing, and then obviously when I was involved in the yacht club, did some programs there. I think what I like about Tiller and Kites is, one is, yes, we're building up the fleet, right? So we've got numerous J24s. We just added a bunch of Sabbats for the kids, Coronado 15s, which is still a fine dinghy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And we have enough of them. Now we're putting together a fleet of Stars. I think that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
I think we have about 7 in the fleet right now.
Ooh.
So yeah. So that's a really. So we're trying to stay with world class, Olympic class type. Just really top notch boats from the era. Obviously, new ones are way too expensive for us. And the nice thing about the program is two things. One is it's very, very flexible. Two, I don't have a board that I need to go to in general and ask permission. And, so if it's a really good idea, do it. See if it'll fly.
Yeah.
And, again, talking to people I consider, friends and mentors, most of them, they've maybe made a few corrections along the way for me, which I appreciate. But in general, they're like, okay, you're doing something that nobody's doing in the middle of the desert,
Yeah.
which is not a negative to me. I mean, with 365 days of sunshine.
Yeah.
And the Lake Pleasant is actually entertaining. It's got its moments like anywhere else, but it's easily accessible. It's a large city. There's a lot of resources in the town, except sailing.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to build this in Newport or in Charleston or in Miami. I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah.
The infrastructure, it's already there. The nice thing being in probably, the fifth largest city in the country, and easily accessible, and nothing as
Yeah.
far as sailing. I mean, nothing,
Substantial.
really
Yeah. All right. Well, I think what you're doing is just amazing. It boggles my mind how committed you've been and what you've done.
Thank you.
Speaking of commitment,
Yes.
what do you think about the America's Cup and these boats and these programs? I mean, that's some committed sailing, but what are your thoughts on it? Love it, hate it?
I love it. I think it's just the coolest. I get it, the hardcore, the purists. Everything has to be a monohull with Dacron sails.
Right.
I get that too. I'd gone to San Francisco when they were sailing the AC-72s. That just blows you away.
Yeah.
One is it's very humbling. You hang around. This is now we're talking the AC-72s 7-8 years ago. You're nearly embarrassed to say you're a sailor.
Yeah.
When you see those boats, you're like, okay, I have a boat and I go on the water because it's way out there.
Yeah.
Which, everybody getting blasted them and everything else. Yeah, but that led to the NACRA 17s, and now everybody wants to go foiling. You got foiling opties, foiling lasers.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it to foil, somebody will make it foil. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Bermuda obviously was tremendous. And now the new, canting.
Yeah, the canting keels and
Really?
canting foils, I guess you call them. Yeah.
And monohulls that are faster than catamarans. The only issue is even if I was able to pick up one of those boats, or somebody said, Zane, we've got this old AC-72, it's the old, big one, ETNC boat or whatever. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Nothing. Right? Whereas the old ones still have a life in San Diego and the Virgin Islands. So these boats could never ever be used again by anyone, because one, I don't think anyone could probably even afford it. And two, where are you going to find 12, 13 crew?
Yeah.
Capable, competent. So those boats unfortunately died. The Bermuda boats, they turned into the GP series more or less. Whereas again, these boats are the current ones, which I think is phenomenal technology, and we do need that.
Yeah.
If aviation or cars stuck have the same progress as sailboats, we'd still be driving Model Ts.
Yeah.
Whereas, so I do appreciate a lot of that tech. Now, will it ever work again or become, privateers can sail a boat with canting foils? No, probably not. I mean, somebody will, but in general, no. But I think it forces even your basic monohulls or future monohulls to adopt some of that technology, which in turn will make the boats obviously better. They might not have those canting foils, but
Yeah.
a lot of it will trickle down, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, they've got the twin skin mainsails, going on these things. That's something that, might trickle down. You never know. I figured that would probably trickle down before the, canting foils, but,
But it takes them to do it,
yeah.
to prove that it works. And then the next thing you know is the major lofts will be offering something along those lines, because they're the ones building them for them anyways. And
Right.
yeah, I think that'd be very nice.
Yeah. I don't know what it'd do to the cost, but it's got to be a good thing. So, all right. So, what are your future plans in sailing? Do you got anything else planned for the future after the pandemic goes by, or, are you just sitting around collecting more boats, or what have you got going in the future?
Yes. No.
Yes. Okay, you're getting more boats, obviously. I know that. I'm still waiting on you to pick up my J24. So,
Once upon a time, I used to race open wheel race cars,
uh-huh.
and mostly Formula cars. And people say, "Well, what are you going to do when you stop racing?" Well, it's the same thing everybody else does: become a team owner and TV commentator, or something along those lines. So, no, I probably will probably will sail a little bit less, and that's fine because time will be limiting. But I do want to finish what I started, and unfortunately, this COVID really interrupted things. But it's okay because it's killing the best time of the year
Yeah.
for us. Now it's already 105 in Phoenix today. So yeah,
Yeah.
so you can
Yeah.
imagine.
That's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. So just around, April, May, June, which is still good. It's going to be rough. But that is to finish the fleets, finish the boats, set up all the programs, put together really interesting events using again. And the idea is sort of just I'm going back a little bit here. The idea is, for example, you said, Zane, oh, you really want to sail a star, right? You got to sail a star. I think everybody should sail one at least once. Okay, how are you going to get on one? And even if you got on one, well, what if there were, 7 of them or 8 of them in the water in Phoenix, ready to go? It's an easy flight, easy, and just bring your gloves and your flip-flops.
Yeah.
Go sailing, go home. Don't have to drag the boat, don't have to rig it, don't have to do anything. So between those and the J24s and the like, that's really where we're going with a lot of this, especially seasonally. Obviously, our winter is, 75 degrees, not, minus 20, and
Right.
our lakes don't freeze. So we sail all through the winter. So the idea was to keep to make that accessible and putting very, very interesting events and very interesting regattas, not necessarily just a buoy race, but add in a lot of elements. We did it late last year. We put together an event between a Phoenix team and the Tacoma team. So we called it the Rocking Me Regatta, obviously from the song, right? Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Tacoma. Anyway, the guys came down, but it was combined with NASCAR. So we had tickets to the NASCAR race in Phoenix. So everybody comes in, we go down to the racetrack, we're watching the trucks race, Friday night, come back to the boats, race on Saturday and Sunday. The trophy was a Fender guitar,
Nice.
a pickle dish, because it was all about the music.
Yeah.
And it was so different, but in there was sailing.
Yeah.
So sailing was not the most important thing, the event was. And I like those events. It brings in, and we've got some really interesting one being developed now, probably for next fall, where we'll sort of like introduce different twists and different turns just to keep it, fun and entertaining.
Yeah. Well, sounds like you got a good future going ahead of you. Speaking of that, so what do you think of women's sailing, the sport of women's sailing, the state of it? I know you have a lot of women out there with you that you're getting into your program and training up. I mean, what can the country or the world do better to promote it, or what are your thoughts on it?
Okay, I might take some flack from this. Stop calling it women's sailing. It's sailing. It's really sailing. Now, other than, let's say, a fin, meaning a robust man on it, or whatever. Generally, I would rather have a woman at the helm. Generally, I would rather have a woman on board, right? But that's only me being selfish because I like my boats being taken care of. So there's just a slightly different attitude towards the boat. But I think just even calling it, women's sailing, why? They're as good, if not better, than the guys anytime. Granted, the guys have more access, or they've built more of a machine around, men's sailing, and why women haven't done that, or why women were not included from the very beginning, because I think sailing is probably one of the least, what's the word, like divisive sport, men can do
the
it.
least sexist, I guess,
Yeah,
physically.
exactly. I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, women can drive, can trim, can do anything as good as guys can. It's like, well, it's a question of strength. We'll put it in a different block and go 6-1 instead of 4-1. I mean,
Right.
There's no excuses. And in general, I like sailing room. I think they're very good sailors. In general, they understand. They're generally less argumentative on sailing topics. But so, dividing it, I personally don't see why. Now, I've put together teams, obviously, of all women on my J boats, and they did really well. But because they happen to be all women and for no other reason, so I don't know. I think just dividing it, because what happens is, if assuming the programs for women's sailing somehow don't succeed for whatever reason, then you've killed women's sailing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just made it inclusive, made it part of sailing, and you didn't go all gender-based and everything, because there is a chance that women's sailing might not take off, just like, I don't know, some other sports. So why break it up? Bring it in other words, so there's no chance of failure. But That's just my opinion.
I got you. That's a good opinion. All right, so on growing the sport of sailing, because that's obviously what you're trying to do out there. What are your thoughts on that? How can other areas of the country and the world, do things similar to you or just different than you or whatever, just to help promote the sport? How do we get there?
That is a perennial question, right? I mean, part of it is obviously financial. It is an expensive sport.
Yeah.
However, if your kids are playing hockey, that's more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, and on and on. So if you start really doing the math, other than obviously, you got two things. One is the acquisition of the boat, whether it's a Sabot, an Opti, laser, all the way up to brand new Club Swan. There is an acquisition price that's very expensive. Then there is the ongoing maintenance price that's also very expensive. So through various ways and means, how do you eliminate that? So that's what we're doing to a degree. We own all the boats. Well, whether the money comes from, you'd be surprised when you really want to do something, you get there, right? So the boats are there. So, okay, that's out of the equation. The maintenance costs, yeah, we keep them all dry stored, not a big deal to launch them, bring them back out. It's expensive to actually physically launch them and bring them back out. But if you want to sail the boats, then guess what? You're over there. We do ramp launching. So, no, you're there with the tow ropes and everything. So that cuts that down. Doing a simple comparison with other sports. I mean, pick any sport. Even soccer gets expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And what it is, you need a pair of shoes and go kick a ball. It gets expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Next thing you know, you've got a full-size practice goal in your backyard.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, the latest
ball shooting machine. Yeah.
All that. You got to have a Messi shirt, and those are really, the licensed ones are really expensive. So so it's really no different. So even if one made a simple comparison, say, okay, fine, you can do X, or you can do sailing. And if you really did X, whether it's you play lacrosse or volleyball, I mean, pick any junior. I'm talking junior sports here, obviously. But you can also put golf in there.
Yeah.
And sailing. If I told you, well, yes, first you need to spend, $15,000 to buy a boat, and then you have to spend $1,000 a month to keep it at the marina, you're done. I mean, you're not interested. But if you said the actual sailing with the boat and the storage already in place by entities like mine and others, but you're going to commit to X per month, the numbers surprisingly work, and it could be done.
Yeah.
And the comparison is not that hard to make. I mean, if you had kids go to high school sports, you could have spent the same money and they could have gone sailing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's your best advice for new people getting into sailing, and what can you tell them?
Fair enough. It's addictive.
Do what?
It's addictive.
It's addictive. Yes.
It's addictive. So, if you want to get into this, you may get addicted. One of those little stickers on every boat. Use of this boat may be addictive. So it is. So, I mean, even I've found, even with students and everything, just be honest with them. Right from the get-go. I just don't want to spend any time or take the money just to spend X amount of days on a boat or whatever, and then you never see them again.
Yeah.
So, right from the get-go, saying, why are you doing this? Well, I just want to learn how to go sailing. And then what? And then nothing. Then I'm really not interested in teaching you.
Yeah.
It's not good for you, and it's not good for me. There are cheaper places, less places you can go to. So go long game, really, really long game. And it doesn't matter who they end up with. They may start with me, finish up with you, but in the meantime, go to 5 other places. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So don't be, there's very few new people to work with, so try not to be greedy about them, but actually encourage them to go places, introduce them to different places. And don't be afraid, well, if I send them to my friends at, OCSC in Berkeley, they'll never come back here. Well, probably I wouldn't either. I mean, once away. But you're doing them a disservice by hiding opportunities. So make as many opportunities, and whatever they can afford or want to do. I think it behooves us to do that. So, and be honest about the cost of sailing. Be fair in your assessments. Like, no, you don't need the most expensive gloves in the world. Yeah, they're really cool and they're really wonderful, but for what we're doing, $15 at Home Depot will accomplish the same thing today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you can go buy the really expensive, carbon fiber, blah, blah, blah gloves, because that's what all the cool people wear.
Yeah.
The same thing, with equipment and how involved you get. And most importantly, I think they need to get involved with the actual boat. They need to understand how the boat works. They need to understand what it takes to take care of a boat.
Yeah.
And participate in that. Those have an attachment to the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise,
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a great answer. That's a new one I haven't heard yet. All right. Well, that basically wraps up the 20 questions other than this one, which is what else do you have to add? I mean, we've been talking about, your influences, your sailing, just all these different things. What else do you have to add?
That's interesting.
Something encouraging, something discouraging. Come on. I know you're going to be encouraging no matter what you say. So
I think probably the one thing I enjoy the most is a 5-minute piece that I stick in there with couples, and it's how to go sailing and still like each other at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And everybody's always shouting, everybody's screaming. So I actually try and spend some time. Okay, if you're driving the boat, it's like, look at me, I'm driving the boat, I'm the skipper, you do what I tell you. It's not going to go down very well.
No, it doesn't.
And you see so much of it. Like, oh, look at me. No. She will smack you and you'll be sleeping in the doghouse. However, if you both talk to each other, so like if you and I were racing on the same boat, right? You would talk to me in a certain way. Now, you might be really loud because I'm at the bow and I need to hear you, right?
Yeah.
You're not shouting at me. You're making sure I can hear you.
Right.
The urgency in your voice tells me how urgently you need something done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you try and do that. And I think if you can communicate well on a boat and still like each other on the drive home, your marriage is good. You'll be fine.
There you go. They make a lot of little memes on for the computer about it, little memes or whatever you call them. Yeah. Sorry for what I said while docking the boat. Things like that. And you're like, yeah, that's true. I hear that.
True.
I hear couples coming to the yacht club all the time trying to put a boat up, and they're banging in a pile and yelling and screaming. I'm like, I better go help before it gets worse.
And stuff like that is. How many people have gotten out of the sport because of that?
Yeah, probably thousands. More than we could ever know, I'm sure. So
I hate you. I hate your boats.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So yeah, just be nice to each other.
Yep.
It works.
That's a good thing. All right. Yeah. Well, everybody, this is Victor Felice. He has Tiller and Kites in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a great program. He's trying to get people into sailing, get racing out there. He's got a whole program set up for coming out, chartering a boat, and having regattas. Look them up online, Tiller and Kites, and I know that you can find them. So with that, this is Zane with Sailing Views. Please subscribe, tell your friends about it, come answer some questions with me, and here you go. Thank you very much, Victor, and I will talk to you soon. All right.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.